Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode. I'm Max.
And I'm Mia. Good to have you with us today.
So, before we get started, we just wanted to say thanks for tuning in. If you're finding these episodes useful, we'd really appreciate it if you could hit the like button and subscribe. It helps us keep going.
Exactly. And if you've got friends who are also learning English, feel free to share this with them.
Right. So, today we're going to focus on something a bit different. We're looking at everyday conversations, the kind you'll probably find yourself having at some point, whether it's at a shop, with a colleague, or just chatting with someone you've just met.
These are situations that come up all the time, and knowing how to handle them in English can make a real difference. So hopefully by the end of this episode, you'll feel a bit more prepared for those moments.
Let's get into it.
So Max, we're starting with something that everyone can relate to. Talking about the past. You know, sharing memories, childhood stories, that sort of thing.
Yeah. And this is actually one of those conversations that happens quite naturally. Someone asks you about your childhood, or maybe you're reminiscing with friends about what you used to do years ago.
Exactly. And when we talk about the past in English, we mostly use the past simple tense. Now, I grew up in a small town, and I remember I walked to school every single day. Notice how I said walked. That's the regular past form. You just add ed to the base verb.
Right, and most verbs follow that pattern. Like, I played football after school. My sister listened to music all the time. We watched cartoons on Saturday mornings. All regular verbs with ed at the end.
But then you've got the irregular ones, which don't follow that rule. For example, I said I grew up in a small town, not growed up. Grow becomes grew.
Yeah, those can be tricky. I had a dog when I was younger, not halved, but had. We went on holiday every summer, not goed, but went. You kind of have to learn these as you go.
Absolutely. So Max, what about you? What did you get up to as a kid?
Well, I spent most of my time outdoors. My friends and I rode our bikes around the neighborhood, built little forts in the woods, that kind of thing. We didn't have phones or anything like that back then.
That sounds nice, actually. I think a lot of us miss that simplicity. I remember I used to read a lot, just sat in my room with a book for hours. My parents always said I was the quiet one.
Interesting how different childhoods can be. But the point is, whether you're talking about riding bikes or reading books, you're using these past forms constantly, and once you get comfortable with them, it becomes second nature.
For sure. Now, we're going to play you a short conversation between two people talking about their past experiences. Listen carefully to how they use the past tense and try to pick up on some of these irregular verbs we mentioned.
After that, we'll break down a few key points from what you heard. Here's the audio.
Hey, Tom, you know what I was thinking about the other day? That summer we all spent at the beach house. Do you remember that?
Oh, of course I remember. That was, 10 years ago now? We rented that place near the coast for 2 weeks.
Exactly. I can't believe it's been that long. We were so young back then. I think I was still at university.
Yeah, me too. I actually failed one of my exams that year because I didn't study enough before we left. My parents weren't too happy about that.
Really? I had no idea. You seemed so relaxed the whole time.
Well, I figured there was no point worrying about it while we were there. Anyway, what made you think about that trip?
I found some old photos on my computer. There's this one where we're all standing by the water and you're holding that ridiculous inflatable dolphin.
Oh no, don't remind me. Your brother bought that thing as a joke and I ended up carrying it around for days.
He thought it was hilarious. Actually, he still talks about that trip sometimes. He said it was one of the best holidays he ever had.
It really was special. We did so much that summer. We swam every morning, explored those little villages nearby, ate at all those local restaurants.
The food was incredible. I remember this one place that served fresh seafood right on the beach. We went there at least 3 times.
I know the one you mean. They made that amazing fish soup. I tried to recreate it at home once, but it wasn't the same.
Nothing ever tastes the same when you try to make it yourself. It's the atmosphere, I think. Being by the sea, hearing the waves, all of that.
True. And the weather was perfect that year. We got lucky. My cousin went to the same place the following summer, and it rained almost every day.
That would have been awful. We had sun the entire time, didn't we? Well, except for that one evening when the storm came through.
Oh yeah, that storm was wild. The wind was so strong it knocked over all the chairs on the terrace. We had to bring everything inside.
But it cleared up by the next morning. I remember we went for a walk on the beach and the sand was completely smooth. It looked beautiful.
Those early morning walks were my favorite part, actually. Before everyone else woke up, when it was just quiet.
You always were an early riser. I usually slept in until at least 9. My brother and I stayed up late most nights playing cards.
I heard you two laughing from my room. Where were you playing again?
Just some silly game we made up. We kept changing the rules as we went along. It made no sense, but it was fun.
This sounds about right. Your brother never followed the rules of anything properly.
Still doesn't. Anyway, do you remember that boat trip we took? The one where we saw all those dolphins?
How could I forget? That was the highlight of the whole trip for me. We were so lucky to see them up close like that.
The guide said it was unusual for them to come that near to the boat. There must have been about 15 of them swimming alongside us.
At least. It felt like something out of a documentary. I took so many pictures, but none of them really captured how incredible it was.
I know what you mean. Some moments you just have to experience. You can't really preserve them properly.
Exactly. Although I'm glad we have those photos anyway. It's nice to look back and remember.
It is. We should do something like that again sometime. Get a group together and go somewhere for a week or 2.
That would be great, but it's harder now, isn't it? Everyone's so busy with work and other commitments.
Yeah, you're right. Back then, we had all the time in the world. No real responsibilities.
Well, maybe not all the time. We still had university. But it definitely felt more relaxed than life is now.
Everything moves so fast these days. Sometimes I miss how simple things were.
Me too. But at least we have those memories. They're worth holding on to.
Absolutely. Thanks for taking the trip down memory lane with me.
Anytime. It was nice to think about it again.
All right, so that was Sarah and Tom talking about a trip they took years ago. One thing I noticed is how naturally they used different past forms throughout the conversation.
Yeah, and they didn't just stick to simple statements. They asked each other questions too. Do you remember that? What were you playing again? That's how real conversations flow. You're not just listing events, you're engaging with the other person.
Exactly. And notice how they used used to a couple of times. Like when Sarah said, "You always were an early riser." That's a really useful structure when you're talking about past habits or things that were true before but aren't anymore.
Good point. Another thing worth mentioning is how they connected their sentences. They didn't just say, we went to the beach, we swam, we ate. They said things like, we swam every morning, explored those villages, ate at local restaurants. It sounds much more natural when you link ideas together.
Right. And one more thing. They used time expressions really well. 10 years ago, the next morning, most nights. These help give context and make your story clearer for whoever's listening.
For sure. Okay, so let's move on to our next topic, talking about money and budgets.
Now, this might not sound like the most exciting subject, but it's actually incredibly practical. Whether you're traveling, living abroad, or just managing your daily expenses, you'll need to talk about money at some point.
Absolutely. And it comes up in so many situations. Splitting a bill at a restaurant, discussing your salary, planning a holiday with friends, even just shopping for groceries.
So let's start with some useful vocabulary. If something is expensive, you might also say it's pricey. Or if it's really over the top, you could say it costs a fortune.
On the other hand, if something's cheap, you can say it's affordable, or it's a good deal, or even it's a bargain if you got it for a really low price.
Right. And when you're talking about your financial situation, you might say you're on a tight budget, which means you don't have much money to spend. Or maybe you're trying to save up for something. That means you're putting money aside for a future purchase.
Exactly. There are also some common phrases like, I can't afford it, which means something is too expensive for you right now. Or, it's worth it, meaning even though something costs a lot, the value you get from it makes it reasonable.
And if you're sharing costs with someone, you might split the bill or go halves, which both mean dividing the total amount equally.
Another useful one is to run out of money, which means you've spent everything and have nothing left. Hopefully that doesn't happen too often.
Definitely not ideal. Now, grammatically, when you're talking about prices, you'll often use how much does it cost or how much is it? These are the standard questions you'd ask in a shop.
And when giving prices, remember that we say it costs £20 or it's £20, not it costs 20 of pounds. Small detail, but important.
Good reminder. All right, so now we're going to hear another conversation. This time it's between two people discussing their spending habits and trying to plan a budget together. Listen for that vocabulary we just mentioned.
Pay attention to how they express concerns about money and suggest solutions. Here's the conversation.
Hey, Ben, do you have a minute? I wanted to talk to you about something.
Sure. What's up?
Well, I've been looking at my bank account and honestly, I'm a bit worried. I think I'm spending way too much money lately.
Really? What's been going on?
I don't even know where it all goes. I mean, I know I spend money on the usual stuff, rent, food, transport, but by the end of the month, there's barely anything left.
That's frustrating. Have you tried tracking your expenses? Like writing down everything you spend?
I haven't, actually. I keep telling myself I should, but I never get around to it.
You should give it a go. I started doing that a few months ago, and it really opened my eyes. I was spending so much on things I didn't even need.
Like what?
Coffee, mostly. I was buying one every single morning on my way to work. It seemed harmless, but when I added it up, I was spending nearly £50 a month just on coffee.
Wow, that's quite a bit. I do the same thing, though. And lunch. I hardly ever bring food from home.
Yeah? Eating out adds up quickly. Even if it's just a sandwich or something small, doing it 5 days a week gets expensive.
You're right. I should probably start preparing meals at home. It's just that I'm always in a rush in the mornings.
I get that. Maybe you could prep stuff the night before. That's what I do now. I make lunch and pack it before I go to bed.
That's a good idea. I'll try that. What else have you been doing to save money?
Well, I cut back on subscriptions. I was paying for 3 different streaming services, and I realized I barely used 2 of them.
Oh, I should check mine as well. I think I'm still paying for a gym membership I haven't used in months.
Definitely cancel that if you're not using it. That's just money down the drain.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It's one of those things I keep forgetting about. What about bigger expenses? Like, how do you handle those?
I try to plan ahead. If I know I've got something coming up, like a birthday or a trip, I set aside a bit of money each month so I'm not caught off guard.
That makes sense. I'm terrible at that. I always end up scrambling at the last minute and then putting things on my credit card.
That can get dangerous, though. Credit cards are fine if you pay them off right away, but the interest rates are brutal if you carry a balance.
I know. I've been trying to pay mine off, but it's tough when unexpected things come up.
What kind of unexpected things?
Last month, my laptop broke and I had to get it repaired. That cost me over £100. Then my car needed new tires.
Yeah, those kinds of expenses are hard to avoid. That's why having a bit of an emergency fund really helps. Even just a small amount can make a difference.
How much do you keep in yours?
Not loads, maybe around £500. It's taken me a while to build it up, but it's there if I need it.
I should start doing that. Even if it's just 10 or 20 pounds a month, it's better than nothing.
Exactly. Every little bit counts. And once you get into the habit, it becomes easier.
I think my main problem is that I don't have a clear budget. I just spend whatever's in my account and hope it lasts until the end of the month.
You need to change that. Sit down and figure out how much you need for essentials, rent, bills, groceries, then see what's left over for everything else.
And if there's nothing left over?
Then you need to look at where you can cut back. Maybe cook at home more, skip the coffees, find cheaper alternatives for things you're buying regularly.
It sounds like a lot of work.
It is at first, but once you've set it up, it's not so bad. And honestly, it's kind of satisfying to see your savings grow.
I bet. All right, I'm going to give this a proper try. Track my spending, cancel the gym, start cooking more.
Good. And if you need any help or want someone to check in with, just let me know.
Thanks, Ben. I really appreciate it.
No problem. We all struggle with this stuff sometimes. You've just got to stay on top of it.
Yeah, you're right. Time to take control.
So that was Laura and Ben discussing their finances. Pretty relatable situation, I think.
Definitely. One thing I'd like to point out is the language they use to give advice. Ben didn't say, "You must do this," or "You have to do that." He used softer expressions like, "You should try," or "Maybe you could." That's really important when you're giving suggestions in English. You don't want to sound too forceful.
Good observation. And it's worth mentioning some other ways to talk about financial goals. For instance, if you're trying to be careful with money, you might say you're being frugal or thrifty. Those are positive ways to describe being careful with spending.
Right? Whereas if you say someone is cheap or stingy, that actually has a negative connotation. It suggests they don't want to spend money even when they should.
Exactly. Word choice matters a lot here. Another useful phrase is living paycheck to paycheck, which means you spend all your money before your next salary arrives. It describes a situation where there's no financial cushion.
And if you're in a good financial position, You might say you're comfortable or financially stable. These are neutral, professional ways to describe having enough money without sounding boastful.
Also, when discussing value, there's a difference between something being cheap and something being good value. Cheap usually refers to low price, but good value means you're getting quality for a reasonable price.
That's an important distinction. Oh, and here's something that trips people up. When talking about borrowed money, we say lend when you give money to someone and borrow when you receive it. So you lend money to a friend, but you borrow money from the bank.
Classic mistake. People mix those up all the time. And speaking of banks, if you're discussing payment methods, you might say you paid in cash, by card, or even by bank transfer. Each situation calls for different vocabulary.
True. And one more thing. In British English, we often say quid instead of pounds in casual conversation. Americans do something similar with bucks for dollars. Just be aware of those informal terms.
All right, so let's quickly go over what we covered today. We started with talking about past experiences, how to use the past simple, those regular verbs with ed, and the irregular ones that don't follow the pattern.
Then we moved on to discussing money and budgets. We looked at useful vocabulary for talking about expenses, saving, and managing finances. Both topics are things you'll encounter regularly in everyday English.
And remember, learning a language isn't just about memorizing rules or vocabulary lists. It's about being able to communicate in real situations. Every conversation you have, every mistake you make, it all helps you improve.
Exactly. Don't worry about being perfect. The goal is progress, not perfection. Keep practicing, keep listening, and most importantly, don't be afraid to use what you're learning.
All right. I think that covers the main points. This has been quite a packed episode so far. We've gone through talking about the past and discussing money. Two really practical conversation topics.
And hopefully you've picked up some useful phrases and structures along the way. Remember, the key is to practice these in real situations. Don't just memorize them. Try to use them naturally when the opportunity comes up.
Absolutely. Well, that's going to wrap things up for today. Thanks again for listening, and if you found this helpful, don't forget to like and subscribe.
We'll be back soon with another episode. Until then, keep practicing.
Take care, everyone.
Bye for now.